Footsteps meet on hardwood floors, laughter spilling from the doors. Different tongues but hearts the same, learning life beyond the name. At the International English Cafe, talk your troubles right away, sip your tea and stories play. At the International English Cafe.
Okay, so we'll get to Juan Franco's favorite part of this the meeting. Hey, Juan Franco, are you still there?
Yes. Liberty.
Okay, so for my meetings, you may have seen it in the meeting notification. There's a part where it deals with comments, questions, or thoughts, right? So I start off with the comments, questions, or thoughts related to the topic that we just went through, right? Which is what I asked. And since nobody had any more comments or thoughts, um, then well, the topic that we just went through is you're talking about your English journey, right? And then being able to kind of go through that, Mohammed. So that's why I had everybody talk about their their English journey, what they have done, what will they do, right? And then afterwards we keep on commenting about it until everybody's done. And then from there, um, going to go to the next portion, which is
Uh,
talking about just about anything. You'll start to see that for a lot of my meetings, they're all on YouTube. I posted the link to that so you could get a flavor of how I've done all my meetings. Most of my meetings is such that I would prefer people to respond like as if it's a speech. Um, I think that's much more of a challenge for people to respond in that way instead of giving like 1 to 2 sentence responses for a question. Um, to try to talk in a longer format is quite a bit more bit of a challenge. Um, Part of your thinking would be like as if it's a verbal essay, which is why it's a little bit of a different feel for how to practice in this kind of sense. Oh no, Kasako already left the meeting. She's already gone on done something else. But in any case, the next part of the meeting, right, is comments, questions, or thoughts about just about anything. You can ask me if why the sky is blue, and I'll give you an answer. Although the answer might not be correct, because I'll say something in terms of the diffraction of light amongst the molecules in the sky, blah blah blah. But nonetheless, does anybody have any comments, questions, or thoughts about just anything?
me.
Go ahead, Juan Franco.
Okay. I have one question for you, my friend.
Okay.
I learned another teacher and say the more important in the English, but you have a flow in your words, is learn the key words in the English. What is your opinion? Is really or not?
Um, Notice how a lot of people speak with just within this call. I'm gonna pick on you, Francisco, because I like to use you as a role model for this, right? Francisco has a particular style of speaking in which it's a little bit slow, but very thoughtful, right? Um, Basically, he has a slower cadence. Um, I imagine kind of like as if it's Obama speaking, but a little bit slower. So it's has a kind of, so that's kind of like the flow of how Francisco speaks, right? Um, so it allows him to be able to think what to say while he's saying it, right? There's certain pauses here and there, but also by being able to slow down his manner of speech, it helps him to be able to process what's going on, whether
Mm,
it's thinking what to say next, seeing how everybody is engaging with how he's speaking, so he
mhm.
can adjust along the way. Like it's a very good you know, way of speaking, right? Um, and I think it's a very helpful way of speaking too. Let's see. Oh, we have a new member. Hi, welcome to the call. We're at the next portion of the call in terms of um, comments, questions, or thoughts. But welcome, Ayoe. I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, it's IU, just like you spell INU.
Oh, okay, Ayu. So this is not like the Indonesian Ayu that's from the international community speaking English, right? This is a different one.
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
because there's multiple people named Ayu, so like I'm trying to see which one is which. Okay, cool. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome. Um, the topic for today, which we kind of ended, was the status of your English journey. But at this point, we're going into a different session called Comments, Questions, or Thoughts, where people could uh, ask questions, comments, or provide thoughts about anything, and we can just talk about it. So Juan Franco just mentioned about the flow in speaking. And is that something that helps with English? Um, so my answer to that one, Franco, is in one way, yes, it does help. Um, so that would be my answer to that. So, and I'm using Francisco as the example for this. I do really like how Francisco speaks. So it's a very good way of speaking.
Mm. But the for other side, Tang, you believe the exist the keywords for speak better in English
Well,
or not?
so this is kind of like the way I like to think about this. It's like um, there's a thing when I don't know if you guys know about rapping, like
Uh-huh.
rappers, like there's a thing that rappers do called battle rap, right? Where they battle each other in by using raps to just, you know, one person will have a set amount of time to rap about whatever, and then they say it against the other person, and then the other person gets a set amount of time to talk back, right? Um, so when it comes to battle rapping, right, there's something called freestyle, which is like you're just rapping off the top of your head, like you're just making it up on the spot, versus what is considered written raps, where like you already had something prepared, um, so that you can rap about it. Ideally, what battle rap or like battle rappers would do is they would mix a little bit of freestyle and written raps. So they'll rap about certain things if they don't know what to say. They already have something pre-written beforehand, which they can just inject into the rap, and then they can jump back. Hi, Kazuko. Nice. Welcome back. So like um they can like basically switch back and forth between written raps and freestyle, right? Because
Mhm.
if they don't know how, like if they don't, if they can't come up with something off the top from the freestyle part, they'll just jump into something written, right? And then afterwards, it can segue, provide them enough time to think about something, some sort of freestyle thing to say next, and then they just go with that, right? So key words or key phrases or key things, that's
Mhm.
kind of similar to something that you had pre-prepared, right? The quote unquote written raps. So when you talk, there's going to be certain keywords or phrases that you will say or inject to help you segue from coming up with one thing to say on the spot to another thing that you're saying on the spot. You'll see me do this a lot when I talk because I tend to use a bunch of adverbial phrases
Mhm.
to help me to segue from one thing to the next. So those are like my key things. I also like to use certain vocabulary again and again, like plethora, which is a Greek rooted word, but plethora would mean like, kind of a bunch of or a many things or a bunch of variety of things, right? I would say adverbial phrases like to the notion of, or just something with the word notion in it. It's not something that's commonly heard, so it kind of catches people's ear a little bit more because it's not something that you would commonly hear often, right? So it would be things like that. So I do use it. I use a lot of this myself.
Mm.
Now,
Okay.
you don't actually have to speak in this way, but lots of times if you want to practice or if you want to speak more often, or be able to speak well, having certain things that's pre-prepared in your mind helps along the way with your speaking.
Mm. Interesting. For example, in my case, I watched movies and tried to these movies I watched it. I was young, no, but in this moment I watch in English.
Mhm.
Maybe the history, I have the history, but I'm trying to the only listen the English,
Mhm.
and in my case, it's I'm trying to the understand the English, but in my case not put the subtitles, and it's very interesting and it's different. But these teachers say the keywords you listen and use in the meetings, and in the moment they use these keywords,
Mhm.
you give your message more more good, more effective the idea.
Mm, I don't know if it's going to be more good or more effective, but using quote unquote keywords help. Um, this is something that I think people do need to be careful with because um, one example would be if you look at political discourse
Uh-huh.
amongst everybody, right? So especially in the US, they will talk about politics
Uh-huh.
more recently, like within the past several years.
Uh-huh.
And people would just argue back and forth. So certain key words that what they would use would be like, oh, this conservative, this Democrat, this liberal, this
Yes.
Republican, blah, 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 this fascist, this communist, um, Marxist, right? What does those word mean? And that's the thing. Like sometimes the word, like these words that people are using, they don't know what they mean. But because it sounds catchy, like, that's their key words, and then they try to use it as their way to be able to express themselves. But then for a person that really knows what those words mean, they can call those people out and be like, hey, do you really know what that word means? Because I don't think you know what you're saying.
Yes.
So there is a caveat to take notice with. Um, by the way, I'm gonna write down some of these vocab words. Caveat, plethora, things like that. Um, there's more words along the way. Definitely, if I remember any of the videos that that we had, or like any of the recordings or previous meetings, I know I definitely had on video where I was saying a lot of these words again and again. But yeah, so I would be careful with quote unquote keywords. First, know what those words are, and then be able to, then better use them through and through. So what Fazle had mentioned about listening repeatedly, I think that's a very good technique to practice those kind of vocabularies, right? You're really getting the good grasp of it. How do you pronounce that word? What does it mean? How is it used? How do other people use it? And when you're listening to it, it's like, okay, this is what's even the connotation to it, not just the meaning, right? Very good technique. So that would be something that you could combine with this quote unquote key words or phrases.
Okay. Okay. Thank. And you believe it is better try to the practicing all days English or not?
The what? Or repeat that again? Sorry.
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. You believe this it's better try to the practicing all days English
Um,
or not? Or maybe it's
I
more
think this,
important the vocabulary.
well, so for me, I'm not really that big on vocabulary,
Yeah,
compared to other
yeah,
people,
you're right. You have
but
a lot of vocabulary.
that's only because, like, for me, when it comes to vocabulary, it's more about that the people that talk to me regarding vocabulary tend to be the ones that want to argue with me.
Mm,
They tend to want to argue with me, saying that their English is better than me, even though they're not a native speaker. And usually for me, I challenge them back, saying, "Do you even know what those words mean that you're saying?" Right? Because a lot of those people tend to use very big words. And for me, it's like, it's not that important to use
yeah.
vocabulary, right? That's not what I place importance upon, um, or upon which I place importance, right? My thing is, can you communicate in a way for people to understand you? And if it's supposedly high level English, then what you really need to do isn't high vocabulary,
Mhm.
but to be able to use literary devices, right? Because, like said, when you're when you're using a language, you learn all languages literally, right? But to really have a mastery of a language is when you can use the language not literally, right? Can you tell a
Yeah.
joke in that language, right? Can you be able to be sarcastic in that language, right? There's lots of things in there that I feel that people haven't done. They just focus on, like, oh, because the vocabulary sounds very fancy, so that's why, like, I am very well learned, and that's farther from the truth, right? Take that up with Shakespeare, and he'll make fun of you, especially if you understand what Shakespeare is saying in all his plays, right? Um, Especially Shakespeare's comical plays. Like, for the one play I like to use an example is Much Ado About Nothing. Because when you really look into that, right, it plays on the word nothing, and basically denoting that, like, like, the idiom of it, or at least, is like kind of expressing this idea that you're making a big deal out of something that's not so much of a big thing, right? That's the idea of much ado about nothing. But if you learn about the history about those times back then, there's the concept of thing and no thing. So this is the part why I tend to keep this part separate from the main topic of the call. The comments, questions, and thoughts, we could talk about a little bit more adult topics. So thing and no thing, right? Men have things, women have no thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So the way that it's the quote unquote weird philosophy of this, right? It's like if you took a line and you draw it down the middle and then you draw what looks like a peninsula and then draw back down, right? One side you have a thing. On the other side, it looks like a hole, which is no thing. Like it's the empty space.
Mm.
So if you look at it on one side, it's basically a man. Yep. No worries, IU. The call's just gonna keep on running. If you have any questions and thoughts, you can always jump in and ask away. But if you look at the other side of the drawing, right, it's basically no thing, which denotes a woman. So this is very kind of vulgar just to think about, right? But that's the idea of thing and no thing. So now when you put that level of understanding towards Shakespeare play, because this was back at those times, right? You can start to see the interaction between the men and women in the play that coincides with thing and no thing. So it's an analysis of Shakespeare play on another level, right? And when you can understand English, you would understand that,
Yes.
right? So this is kind of like this is then delves into where how language connects with culture, and then the understanding of culture, right? So it goes even more and more, right? So like this is like if you really were to master a language, this is the kind of thing that you're going to be up against or like facing or experiencing, right? You'd be looking at things in that manner, right? So oh, go ahead, Kasako. Okay, so now if you look at your own country or your own nationality, right, and your own culture, you will see that there's certain types of stories, media, things like that, where like only you and your people can understand it because of the mastery of the of your mastery of your language and your culture and other type of tidbits of information that you know that because you only know it, that's why you would understand it at that higher level, right? It's very interesting. So this doesn't just apply to English. This applies to all languages, right? So this is where like you would know that like you have a true mastery of a language when you can understand in that kind of thing. It's very amazing that like to see the beauty of other cultures and languages when you can start to see things in that type of light.
Yeah. Yes, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
why
you,
like
my
this whole
friend.
thing about vocabulary, like I'm not too big on vocabulary because vocabulary only gets you so far. Vocabulary helps when you're at the beginning, when you can try to have more words so that you can speak.
Mm,
But afterwards, okay, now you can speak. Now you can listen. Now you can understand. What's next? Right?
right.
And the next part is when you can start to see go beyond with literary devices, which is so that's the kind of thing that you see in literature, right?
Mm,
So there's English literature, but then notice that there's not just only English literature, right? There's Mexican literature, there's Chinese, Japanese. Every nation and culture out there have their own type of literature. There's a beauty to it, right? So,
yes.
aw, so cute. Hi.
Say hello to everybody.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Aw.
Thank you. So my little daughter, actually, she is just 2 years old.
Aw.
Say hello to
Whoa.
everybody. Sorry for the interruption, sir.
No,
Please
no
keep going,
worries.
sir.
Yep. So, that's why like when it comes like if you truly were to master a language is when you can understand things in that level. This is why this is not just for English, right? The other languages. So that's why like with your the tough part would be if you were to try to translate that type of literature from one language to the next, because obviously there's no literal translation at that point.
Uh-huh.
But you know, that's the interesting part, right? This is why like I said, like I'm not that big on the vocabulary, but vocabulary is a good start when you're beginning English or when you're beginning a language.
Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Hi, Yi. Long time no see. I haven't seen you in a long time, man.
Yes, long time no see.
How have you been?
Uh, yes, normally I have a journey and
Oh, the Hewlett, huh? You went on a trip? Oh, okay. In any case, so um aside from Juan Franco's question, did anybody have any questions, comments, or thoughts? Okay, Francisco, go ahead.
Hello, Tan. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to express what I'm thinking about this great topic. I would like to add about what you have said, the beauty of other nationalities.
Ooh,
I am feeling, thank you. I am feeling when we are learning a new language, that's the thing. I mean, we learn and we have a chance to appreciate the beauty of other nationalities. Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay. For me with literature, there's quite a lot that I have not had a chance to read in terms of books. Um, let's see. Can I do, where's my doohickey? Right here. Video, blur, video, not blur. Behind me is a bunch of books. Lots of books. I have yet to go read every one of them. But in terms of me, this is literature that I wanted to read. There's lots of books that I did not get a chance to read when I was in high school. In the US, or I don't know like how school systems and everywhere else is, but there's certain prescribed books that you are to read. Um, Depending on the class you took, you were to read a particular book. Um, Depending on like whatever I guess the teacher would wanted to teach and things like that. So I read things like To Kill a Mockingbird, but I did not read things like Catcher in the Rye. I had to read Catcher in the Rye only later in life. Um, but yeah, those were kind of books that like um, I wanted to read. So um, things I have on my shelf right now, I read at least a good deal of this one. I don't know how easy it is, but Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I am, at least according to my bookmark, halfway through at least. So I think
駐車券をお取りください。両内の案内表示に従ってご入場ください。
Nani? Nandesuka? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah. So uh, that's an example of something I'm reading. Um, Found it interesting with British or English etiquette from back in those times, like around the 1800s. So nice fa flavor or of things. I think it's similar to Riverton or Overton. I forget what that Netflix show is. So um, kind of interesting. There's a lot more books out back there, but at least that's something that I at least got halfway through. There's a whole bunch more that I'm still trying to read. But that's in terms of literature, that's what I'm kind of getting into. I was told by another person that had joined some time ago about Russian literature. So I think that's something I want to go into next, or at some point. But yeah. Okay. So does anybody else have any particular comments, questions, or thoughts that they want to share?
So can I?
Yep, you can go.
Is that? It's totally personal, my problem. Just I want to share. If you have some suggestions in terms of this one, so please suggest me. Like, I'm here working as a banking profession. The banking profession is always challenging with time consuming. So most of the cases I found what happened, I could not manage, especially in learning English in this respect. So after that, I try to continue my practice daily at least 30 or 40 minutes. So this has been continued for last 6 months from my side. But the thing is that I'm facing a big problem about the time attention management.
Mhm.
So it feels like that whenever I am listening some voice or listening a class for a long time, it might be 1 or 2 hours. In the mid of the class or in the mid of the audio, I distracted from that concept or contextual.
Mhm.
So I again try to come back into that position, but I found a gap the into that position. So is there any solutions to manage this attention management actually? Or if I'll give the time in this way, it will be continued for more days, then it will be automatically solved by with our subconscious mind. So what is your suggestion, sir? I am very much facing this problem. Thank you very much.
It sounds like you only have kind of a small window of time to really practice English. Sounds like the kind of content that that could maybe help you a lot would be short form content. Because anything that's long form might not be um, feasible because you're going to be constantly interrupted because of whatever it is in life, whether it's work, family, other urgency that may come along the way, right? When you think about it in terms of the time management matrix or Eisenhower, I forget what the other name is, but um, what it is, right? It's like you divide things by urgent and not urgent, important and not important, right? Quadrant one would be urgent and important. So things like, that you have to, in a sense, put out the fire because it's of immediate concern. Like literally, if your house is burning, then you need to do something about it right away, or your house will be burned out, right? Um, Something that is not as urgent but important would be things that you can schedule. So you can schedule time to learn English. You can schedule time to go to the gym and work out. You can schedule time to take a class and learn, right? So things that you can schedule. When you get to the things that is not important, so urgent but not important would be things that you can delegate away. So say that you're on an email chain where there's a whole bunch of people on it. You don't have to be the one that answers it. You can let someone else answer it, right? You can delegate that work away. Lastly, urgent or not urgent and not important is things that you don't really need to focus on. You can just do away with it or lessen the amount of time that you focus on that, right? So the English ideally would be not urgent, but it's important. So like this is something that you would need to schedule time to do. The tough part is because you can't have a big block of time to focus on it. So that's why if there's a bunch of short form content that you can just use to help you learn English. So ideally, what would be like if you were on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, right? And you review some of those contents. I think some of those are helpful, right? There's a lot of people that do English content that are in short form. So I think they would do something like how to use a particular tense versus another tense, and what's the difference? And then they'll do like kind of a quick short that lasts like maybe 1 minute long. But then it shows the big difference between if you were to use if you were to use one tense over the other. Because one tense would be more direct. Like I will go to the store, right? So that's very direct, right? Like in the future, you will go to the store. Versus like I would have gone to the store if blah 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 blah, right? So that denotes that like there's like if a particular condition is met, then you will go to the store. But if that condition is not met, you're not going to the store, right? So there's a little bit more complexity to what you're saying, and that's just two different tenses, right? Will versus would have. See? So there's lots of content. Like I don't have particular content creators that go into that, but I know that's something that's searchable, and because it's so short form, it does make learning English a little bit more easier, especially when they provide visuals and examples in that type of way. So you can not only engage it by hearing what they're talking about, but you can see the actual action in action, right? So I think that's one way to try to improve. Otherwise, like if you want to get into long form content, I would say the long form content should be something that you can break down into pieces so that you can take piece by piece at a time. That I don't know what kind of content that you'd be looking for. It's either like a literature book where you break it down chapter by chapter, or maybe it's some sort of DIY or self-improvement book where you take certain skills or certain concepts, one concept or skill at a time, right? But anything that's long form content would be something that if you can break it down in little pieces and you consume those pieces little by little, that you can give yourself say like maybe 20 minutes to go through this. And then after 20 minutes of, taking in all that info, whether you're listening to it through an audio book or reading it, then like the next 20 minutes afterwards could be like, okay, now you try to process what happened. and that would be like about 40 minutes. If you need much more shorter time, then somehow shorten the time even further. But that's my two suggestions, right? Either short form content or long form content that you can slice and dice into little pieces.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your suggestion. I'll follow my side.
Yep.
You're most welcome.
You're welcome. Cool. Okay, so does anybody else have any particular comments, questions, or thoughts? Or even comment about things that we already had talked about? Okay, so one thing I do intend with so for the main topic, going back to that, one thing I do want to that I intend at some point, I do want to have a topic about goal setting. That's not something I have done before. It's something I had thought about before though. But ideally that would be a week 3 topic because it's part of career improvement, career development, and self-improvement. So definitely it will be something that I need to do a little bit more research because at a very basic level, right? One of the things I would talk about in terms of goal setting would be, SMART goals. So what are SMART goals, right? So it has to be specific, the S, right? Measurable, M. A, I think was what? Accurate or something to that effect, right? R is supposed to be realistic, and T is supposed to be time sensitive or time based or time frame. I forget what that was, right? So, it's something that you can do within a set amount of time. It's not something that's too crazy, so it has to be realistic and actual. You can measure it, right? So that's why in mentoring the checklist, I think, let's see, who had mentioned that? Or actually that might have been, yes, Mohammed, with measuring, right? Good one. So being able to measure it out, right? So a checklist would be a good example of that, right? And it can't be something that be too broad, like having a specific goal, right? Like what do you want to focus on? And because putting it out, and so when you put it all together, right, that's a goal that you can achieve. Because there's kind of a direction that you can take, there's things that you can do, you know how to approach it, so you can do it, right? If it's too broad, not specific enough, not measurable or anything, and no specific time, then how do you know how you're going to complete it, right? Like it would be very difficult to achieve such a goal if you don't have a direction to go. You have no way of knowing what your progress is, right? So that's something I do want to get into. I think these days they don't talk about SMART goals. I think they're talking about other types of ways to come up with goals because supposedly SMART goals wasn't good enough or it wasn't efficient enough. To me, I think to get into the weeds with goal setting, knowing about SMART goals is a good step at least to understand what goal setting is. So I think, I don't know if it's going to be this month or next month or something like that. I want to do a little bit more research before I get into that type of topic. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, so anybody want to say something or speak up something? Because if not, this meeting can come to a close. Hello, Juan. You jumped up again. You had another question or thought?
No, for me it's very interesting your topic. For example, in my case, I'm trying to define the way but this way it's good and its functionality for me. I think
Mhm.
the you try to, in my opinion, I think the one person search the way to try to learn English. No, Tang? Maybe one person learn English and use the books or use the videos or use, I don't know, for example, in my case, the movies.
Yeah.
But I think the 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 goal is try to understand the message that you're reading, you're listening. But for me, in my case, the I think it's very important you try to the understand the say the people, not the other people,
Mhm.
and this way you keep a good answer. I think the it's very important to try to the listen. In my case, for example, the teacher Parnell say me the only way they try to the understand the listening is put the sound more slow and repeat and put the sound in the normal speed. But the first time you listen this sound, try to put the sound in slow, and
Mhm.
you understand the more words in the moment that you put the sound in normal speed. In my case, it's very good and try to understand a lot words, but I think the one person try to find this way, no, this way that you learn English. And the topic for is very important, very important. I think I give the answers the other question,
Yep.
and and I think the one person maybe um, try to use the step, but step or the create the step by step, but the experience in the English. In my opinion, I think it's very important you try to learn English, but step by step, but
Mhm.
your velocity in the moment that you learn English. And other thing important, and I don't know, in my opinion, is use the tools this moment, no? For example, the chat, for example, the for example, like going to the one training, the agents, the GTP. For example, it's very important you program your agent in ChatGPT
Mhm.
and put the unit in your English, no? For example, in my case, in my agent, put my listening and give me the pronunciation. Only talk to my agent and talk to my agent, and my agent give me the word good or my grammar it's bad,
Mhm.
but your agent use the way your programming in the agent, and it's interesting, no?
Yeah.
And it's free. It's other thing important. In
I mean,
ChatGPT,
the
it's
use
free.
of current technology to aid you in anything is a good way to go about things. Just why do things the hard way? Sometimes the current technology out there can help us, help facilitate us to improve, right?
Yeah, I think this is very important. You speak another person is for me it's very important. But in the moment that you not have the one partner that you're speaking English, use the ChatGPT or other IA. No? I think it's very important you try to use the tools in this moment.
Yeah.
It's
I
free.
do have a comment about ChatGPT, but I can get to that a little bit later.
Yes, it's my last training. Learn the
Yeah.
agents. Yes,
Cool.
it's very interesting. Thank you,
Okay.
my friend.
So Francisco, you rose your hand. What you did you want to add more something?
Thank you very much, Dan. You gave us a relevant guidance about a setting goals. But you mentioned something important. It's a direction. Which direction you are taking right now? I think it's important. Always keep in mind a direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cool. All right. Did anybody have any other particular things they would like to talk about or ask about? Okay, so with the whole ChatGPT thing or the AI thing, so there's a little bit of a caveat. There's something I heard recently that I think it was pretty interesting, right? If let's say you have a movie script, right? If you gave it to 5 different types of AI and let that AI try to create a movie, more or less the movie that would come out amongst those 5 AI, the movie might look relatively the same, give or take. But if you were to take a movie script and give it to 5 different directors, you would have 5 completely different types of movies. So what's going on there? Perspective, right? When you give something like that to AI does not have perspective, really. It just knows whatever it knows based on the information that we fed it through the internet, through the whatever. But that sense of creativity that we humans have through our perspective, now that's different, right? This is kind of like where you have true art. I don't think this is something that AI can do yet or ever. So when it comes to talking or practicing your English, it's nice to practice with an AI, but if you really want good practice, ideally you'd want to practice with another person. There's more to it when you can get that you can get out of a person rather than AI. So a food for thought. But
Yeah,
also
yeah,
too, like if you think about English or any language for that matter, the reason you're learning it is because you're trying to communicate with or at least understand someone that speaks that language. Because otherwise, there's not really a purpose for you to learn that language unless you're learning it specifically to teach someone to be able to understand and or speak with a person of that language. And that's probably the other exception, really. So, like if you're going to use AI to talk to, then eventually you're going to use that language to talk to a person, an actual person of that native language or a native of that language. Because otherwise, if you're not, then all you're gonna do is just end up talking to a robot all day long. And it's kind of like a waste of time or useless. Like there's something that you should be getting out of it, right? That's why that's why you would do something. So hence why we have goals, right? These are going to be certain things that we achieve. We get something. We're going to be getting those things out of having practiced and trained ourselves in English. But okay, so I think overall this has been a pretty decent session. We went through everything with the topic. Everybody at least had a chance to speak up. I do like it when people try to have more chances to speak. So that's why I try to provide more of those chances, or at least during the topic portion of the call. So with this second part, with the comments, question, or thoughts, this is a time when if you had any questions, feel free to ask it. There's always going to be something that people want to talk about, but there's no chances with these calls because whoever the host is always have some sort of other topic. So it's really hard to try to talk about a topic that you want to talk about, right? For my calls, I always have this portion at the end of my call where, you want to talk about it? Go. So, if it's something that you don't feel comfortable now, but you feel like you can feel comfortable later, that's fine. You can always come back and then talk about it back then later on. But just know that like my calls always have this part of the session. Note too that when it comes to the YouTube video, I tend to split up my videos. So there will be one video that will be about the topic itself, and then there's another video it's specifically the quote unquote CQT, comments, questions, and thoughts, right? So so things are kind of split up, right? It's kind of like as if there's two meetings in one. But yeah, so I welcome all people to bring up any type of thing to talk about for comments, questions, or thoughts. It's a good way to be able to bring up something that you really want to talk about that you don't get a chance to talk about with other people. So I think with Mohammed, he mentioned about how lots of people in the WhatsApp chat just says hi and that's it. There's not much quote unquote, or not his words, but in my words, it's like not much substance to the chat. It's understandable, right? It's really difficult to have more deeper talks when most people aren't into that type of thing. Some quote unquote deep talks could be not allowed if it's especially about religion or politics. So it can be a little bit, you're like walking on eggshells in there. But feel free to bring up some of that during this particular call at least. Okay, so I think aside from
Sorry,
oh, go ahead, Mohammed. Yep.
sorry, I didn't understand the last point you mentioned. Could you please repeat?
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Over.
The last part is basically like we're just reiterating that if there's certain topics, comments, or thoughts that you want to talk about, this part of my second half of the call tends to be the part where you could bring up some of that, since other hosts tend to just stick to their topics, and it seems like there might not be as much opportunities to talk about other things. At least with my call, like the second half of it, if you stay long enough, this is a good time, or this is the portion of the call where you can bring that up because that's the point of this part, the second half of my call. I was about to
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Thanks for the explanation.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
the only other host I think has something like this, or actually no, there's two people. So sometimes James Sparrow might have like a portion where you could do this, I think. Or it's usually on a more controlled setting. And I think Sunit's call also has a portion sometimes where they go into, being able to talk about other topics. Um, I haven't I don't know if other people do likewise, but at least those two other hosts. Um, so just in case you wanted another feel or flavor of other people's calls, those are two other hosts that I think do have a little bit more freedom towards the end of their call. But yeah. By the way, hi Daniel Littis. How are you doing?
Yo, nice to meet you. Hi, everybody. Yeah.
Nice to
Hi.
meet you too.
Well, from Connecticut. You're in
Yes.
Connecticut, aren't you? Cool. I have the opportunity to just pass by in order to get to Vermont because I had the opportunity to work there. I remember by the Amtrak, the train and Amtrak. But okay, nice to meet you. Hi, everybody. I'm Daniel from Lima, South America. So
Lima?
yes,
Like Lima, like Peru?
yeah.
Ah, cool.
As far as I know, it's the only one. Is there another Lima city?
Yeah, like
Really?
that's the
Where,
only
where?
one in the world.
Okay. So I don't want to interrupt. Go on.
Um, Basically, this portion of so my calls tend to have two portions. One portion is the main topic, which today's topic is status of your English journey. Second part of the call is questions or comments, questions, and thoughts, where you can bring up any comments, questions, or thoughts that you have. Could be about anything. So we're going through that at the moment. And um, at some point when it's kind of like fresh out of comments, questions, and thoughts, I will just end the call. The call has been running for about 2 hours and a half so far. So um, it's already quite a long time. At some point, I do need to go to bed. But do you have any particular comments, questions, and thoughts? Or do you have any thoughts about like your status for your English journey, like where you are, what you're intending to do, and what your goals are? Oh, your microphone is I think you might need to adjust your microphone. Oh, okay, never mind. You're not speaking. Um, so yeah, Daniel, did you want to like talk about your status of your English journey, or like did you want have a different type of thing in your mind that you want to talk about?
You, what you mean with what you mean with my English journey? You mean like the process of learning? Yes, like about how am I doing? That's what you mean?
So
English
let me
journey?
share a screen, and this is what the questions were. Pew. So it's pretty brief, but basically for your English journey, like what are your goals? Where along your journey are you, or what have you done and learned so far, right? And then what are the next steps that you're going to take for your English journey?
Okay, which number? Are you running number? Which number?
Oh, it's all three. Like they're all interrelated.
Okay, let's start with the very first one.
Yep.
The first, what is your goal for your English journey? To be able to communicate with every single person here, and not only in this room, but also with all people from all around the world. Yes, and that let them know that English is an important language, a tool, their work, and to attract them and motivate them and spread out that knowledge and
Hmm.
let them know that it's a very important. important, interesting, and be part of it, and to get that motivation to learn it. Yes, and not because of a certificate or degree, but because it's important for part of your life. Yes, that's it.
Cool. So like, is there anything that you've done, or like, is there any particular thing that you want to do to keep on improving?
Yeah, because we know that most of students study English because of a certificate. They need to graduate. Yes, uh, in order to get a degree, they need a language. So it's an extrinsic motivation. So it would be perfect if they become that extrinsic motivation to an intrinsic motivation. That's it.
Okay. That's more of like a reason why to, you know, for your goal, but like, what are you doing particularly to improve? So like, finding an English partner, or um, using AI to help you, consuming media in English, or could be anything else like that.
Exactly. Okay.
Like, is there anything that you yourself are specifically doing? That's basically what that question 3 would be asking.
For number one,
No, no. So like, so when you think about it as like in terms of like question 3, like what are you doing to improve
let's see. Do you know what the
along
next
your English
steps are
journey?
for your English journey, and what are they?
Yep.
To not only to learn the part of the theory, but also to practice and put in practice what you learned, and try to master our listening skills. Uh, Listening to native speakers, that would be great. And also to, well, you can talk with other second language students, but in
Hmm.
order to get to be fluent. But it will be great if you have more interaction with native speakers, because we know that they have different, when they talk, they have different rhythm, intonation, the contraction, yes, the speeding, the pace, yes, the blending, yes, the connection of the word connectors, and the stress, the
Okay.
rhythm, etc. So conclusion is totally different. Okay.
Cool. All right. So that'll be more of a topic part, right? So if we were to then break it down to like more of like commenting on that, right? Like, so my one question to you would be, uh, is there a particular native speaker in which you'd want to be exposed
No,
to help you practice?
no, not exactly. It's okay. Just in general, just need. But I know that the most important thing is to be understood and to communicate. The
Yeah.
problem is that when you speak with, especially American native speakers, uh, most of us struggle because we're not used to that. Because, well, about what I have already mentioned before. Yes, just that. Because when you're really saying a listening exercise, for example, they won't talk using like on they won't talk like when we're waiting or expecting, because obviously they won't they will speak too fast, and they will use, as I mentioned, the blending, the contractions, the slang, everything.
Hmm.
It will be a mess. Yes, especially in songs. Yes,
Yep.
that's it.
So this is why I put this question out there, because what is considered a native speaker, right? It's interesting because you have people with a British accent, you have people with an Australian accent, but then like if you just within those in itself, right? There's a breakdown of like, okay, what is a British accent? There's London, there's Cockney, there's Essex, and or Welsh, Scottish, right? Like Irish, like that whole realm. That's like a complete mess of different language or accents, right? And to try to follow. If you look at Americans, you have the southern drawl or the southern twang, a New York accent versus like a West Coast accent, or all the way up to like the uh, mid north with the Minnesota, or Canada, or like that's somewhat even Canadian sounding accent. New England even have its own kind of weird spiel with like how they pronounce their R's. Um, like I don't know about Australian, but I heard that they have a different type of breakdown of how they speak too. So all of those are native speakers, right?
Yeah, I
It's
focus.
very difficult to understand
I mean,
any of that.
yeah. Okay. I mean, especially from the U.S. I mean, the Americans. That's what I mentioned. Yes.
Yeah.
For example, if you compare with British, it's easier than American. Yes.
Ah, it depends. Because like there was that one viral YouTube video, right? Where like the guy had what was it? Was it Welsh? Was it Scottish? I forget what that accent was.
Okay.
He was speaking in Parliament, and the other guy could not understand him, even though they're both Englishmen.
Mm.
So, like it's something to like that. I'm like, I,
Okay.
I
Okay. You know
can't
what?
even make out what that guy was saying.
It's maybe like Spanish, right? Because like Juan Franco, he has his Mexican accent. I have my Peruvian accent, like
Yeah.
Argentinian accent. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
that's kind of like the whole thing of like what is considered native speaker. That that's a difficult one, right? Like, everybody has this kind of uh, notion of what a native speaker is, but when you really think about what a native speaker is, it's a much more bigger variety of people. So, uh, that's why that's something I like to question a lot, right? It's like it's something that like maybe people don't often think, uh, often, something like that. I watched a YouTube video where like the pronunciation of often and often, either one could be correct, but when you look at the word soften, it's not soften, it's just soften. I'm like, blew my mind. But yeah, so it's not something that we often think about, right? Like when it comes to um, trying to find.
For example, there you go. You have an example. In British, it's very easy to hear it often. But we know that American, you say most of them they say often, important. For example, mountain, and stuff like that.
That's so I know with the like the New England accent, they drop their T's. So that's why it is button instead of button, mountain instead of mountain, right? Um, but then like if you're
British don't do that.
yeah, but then like if you're in a different part of the US, they pronounce their T's. So it's not like water, it's water over it, like in that part of the US. I don't know where that is though. I do, one thing I have heard is that people from Nebraska supposedly are, the way they speak is supposedly the closest to standard American English. Um, in my head, I thought Connecticut was pretty close, but never mind. Then I started to hear myself speak, and it's like, oh yeah, mountain, Britain, button, mutton. And I'm like, nope, never mind. I'm not close to standard American English at all. The ing words, we drop the G, and so you don't really have that G sound. Things like that, right? Sometimes Connecticut accent does spew more towards a lot more New England accent, where like Paktika and Havayar, right? You drop your R's, right? So
I know what you mean. I had the opportunity to work in New England.
yeah.
I was in Vermont in those times. Was before pandemic and 2001, a long time ago. I really
Mhm.
struggled. Those time I used to work in a ski resort using the walkie-talkie, the radio. Whoa, and it
Yep.
was difficult for me. And I really struggled, and because I had already finished my advanced English course, and I was different. The reality was absolutely different. So
Yep.
for me, it was, well, native speakers was too much. I experienced something very hard for me. I really felt
Yeah.
frustrated because I didn't. Actually, I used to just using because in Hispanic we have only I O U. So it's a problem because you know that most of Latin, just like me, they speak, for example, only using I O U. Hello, my name is Daniel. I am from Peru. Where do you live?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, from the United. Okay, I live in Lima. What is your name? I can speak to another person, and the other person can understand. Okay, we can communicate. It's perfect. It's okay. But the native speaker is not going to understand very well. You know what I'm saying? So I went to the yes with that kind, and I really struggled. Was so I think it's okay that we can communicate, but it's important for at least the American. For me, it's most difficult. If we compare with the other native speaker from Australia, from British, textbooks, British, they're very formal. They don't do those blending, those construction, that does land like American English. Yes, that's it. Okay, I talk too much.
Yeah. No, those are good points.
No, because I want to hear the other guys here in the meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, and that's not fair.
So how about everybody else? What are your thoughts on this?
What about the others? Francisco, by the way, where are you from, Francisco? Francisco.
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. I like it. Nicaragua. Bangladesh. Fast left. Bangladesh. Wow.
So,
The most crowded country all around the world, I think. Yes? Population. A large population, right? In your country. And Ayoy from Indonesia, right? Yes. And Juan Franco from Mexico, yes, Spanish. Despacito. Yes, español. Hablamos español, así que no hay problema de eso. Okay, go ahead.
Muy rápido.
Come on, man. Show me what you got. Come
You
on.
mean,
Es difícil
Come on,
para,
you-
and then
what do you want me to say? Yeah, I've been talking to him this morning, and now what do you want me to say, Daniel? He's a fun guy. That's why I bring him here. Yeah, yeah, I know. And what is his name again?
Okay, go ahead with the question. Who's the next person? Go ahead.
So yeah, like it was just commenting on like the supposed native speaker and or understanding English and how difficult it is because different English could be um tough to understand.
Yes.
Any thoughts and experiences on that?
Me?
Well, like you were giving the floor to other people. I mean, essentially that's what we're talking about, just to summarize.
Yeah, what about the others? Come on, guys. Wake up. Show me what you got. Come on. What's the dealio? Damn, they're in silence. What's wrong?
But
No,
yeah,
I've learned a lot by just listening to you. I've learned a lot today.
sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how many times do we will have this kind of meeting anyway? How many times a week?
How many times a week for what do you mean by this kind of meeting?
Sound like a curse.
Like the kind of meeting where like we get to talk about almost anything or like or what are you referring to?
The meeting with a certain topic, like we have done it right now.
So all the hosts have a particular topic whenever they host a meeting. So for me, my particular topic for today was status of your English journey, right? Ideally, how I like to have my calls is that people get to speak for kind of a lengthy time, as if you're doing a short speech. I find it's more of a challenge when you speak more of a short speech than if you were to give like a 1 to 2 sentence answer, because anybody could do like a whole bunch of like long questions and give like 1 to 2 sentence answer for each of them, right? But to try to connect everything together and to put it into like a short story or a speech is a little bit more difficult. This is where we delve into the realm of political or public speaking. So I had a series of meetings where we touched upon public speaking. We kind of broke down all the various parts to it to help people along, and then from there had my meeting. So it's like you could do basically in a sense a speech lasting from 3 to 8 minutes long. Basically one person is speaking and everybody's listening. When people listen, what you're listening for are the 5 W's and 1 H. So who, what, when, where, why, and how. So as a listener, you're just not just like zoning out. You're listening for at least those particular things that answers those 6 questions. It shows that 1, you're paying attention, but also 2, that you have a direction for what to listen for. Because especially if there's a story, well, how do you know anything about a story, right? Who is involved in the story? Character, right? Who? What happened? So that's the plot. Where and when? That's the setting. Why? So what drives the plot? How? So what did you do exactly to drive the plot, right? That's essentially the elements to a story, which is answered by the 5 W's and 1 H. So if you want to understand any story, you break it down into those 6 questions, right? So it is a good way to practice your listening and or reading skills because you have a specific direction of what you're looking for. So essentially that's what I have in my meetings. But at the end, we do this comments, questions, thoughts stuff. So it just gives people more freedom to talk about anything because there's always going to be somebody that's like, hey, I haven't seen a topic on this. And it's like, well, if you haven't seen it, how about come to this meeting and talk about it? I'll let you talk about it. There you go. Obviously, it can't be overly controversial. Like it could be controversial enough to at least have a little bit of a discussion, but we can't bring it too far. But this does broaden the kinds of things that people or allow for people to talk about, since some people feel really constrained with what they are able to say, especially when it comes to the WhatsApp chat group. Hello, Leon. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
Where's he from? Where is he from?
let's see. Well, I don't know where Leon is from. Like, hey, Leon, where are you from?
I'm from DRC, Congo, but currently I am in Istanbul.
Ooh.
What's your native language? What's your native language?
French. French is my native language.
Oh, parfait, parlez du français. Bien.
Cool. We're basically kind of getting to the end of the call. The topic for today was the status of your English journey. So essentially, like, what is your goal in terms of English, right? And then essentially, what are you doing? So what have you done and what will you do? So kind of like a little bit of a story of like your journey and why, what are you like, what is your goal? Why is it your goal? Things like that. Then the second half of my call is comments, questions, or thoughts. It just allows people a little bit more freedom to talk about other things. Doesn't have to be about the topic. I've noticed that people want to talk about other topics, but just don't have the opportunity to. So if you join my call, or at least the second half of my call, that's the opportunity to be able to talk about such things.
Oh, really, it's a nice question. So my goal of learning English, so it has helped me so much in my life because I really wanted to learn English because before I moved from my country to where I am now, so many people told me about English and I can have a easy access to chat with people. So I can't have a big challenge. For example, if I want to travel or maybe to get in touch with people to know how to start a business, because these days English is a best way to get in touch with people easily. Also, it has so many opportunity. It has helped me so much in my life. Yeah, that is it.
Cool. So is there anything in particular that you're doing to practice English?
Yeah, like I I have tried many times because I still haven't got a way to practice it. So I found this way is a nice way to improve my English quickly because I I can say, oh my gosh, I can say because I want to explain something. I got in touch with someone a long time ago, and she's the one who taught me I can say English since 2021, and is here in this life. She lives in Indonesia, so she's really the one who shows me the way to improve my English. Even now, if I can try to speak grace to her, and really, I'm so grateful.
Cool. So seems like how you're improving is through a friend that's in a sense helping you. They're like kind of like your English partner.
Yes.
Nice. We were talking about like during the comments question thoughts part, there was a part where we were talking about the use of AI to help try to improve your English. Um, I waited around for a little bit first, then made my comment of if you gave a movie script to 5 different AIs, you essentially would get the same movie, right? Like if they were to produce it. But if you gave a movie script to 5 different directors, you would have 5 different movies. So this kind of speaks to what AI is, right? Because AI just has a bunch of information that's from the internet or wherever, and it'll process the information more or less kind of the same. It doesn't really have varying perspectives like people. So, going back to it, right? So like having an English partner is nice. You basically have like kind of a social interaction that helps you to be engaged. And this is a good way to improve upon your English. Also, too, like the purpose of learning a language, anyways, is to talk to somebody. So if you're not talking to somebody and just basically using it to talk to ChatGPT, then it's kind of defeats the purpose. You can just use your own language to chat with ChatGPT at that point.
I think so.
Yeah. So pretty cool. All right. So that a little bit of a callback to some of the things
Can
that we
I
talked about. Go ahead, Mohammed.
can I ask about ChatGPT, the using of ChatGPT? Is it a possible way to use it and a perfect way to learn from ChatGPT? And how is the security issue of ChatGPT?
Good question.
Over.
So the security part, yeah, that's something I would find worrying. But in terms of usefulness, I feel like people don't know how to use ChatGPT yet or any kind of AI because most people are using AI as if it's a slightly more advanced Google, right? Where in actuality, it can do more than that. So I feel that when we as people have a better grasp of AI and to know how to better use that tool, then we as people can have higher productivity in terms of whatever we're doing. So in this case, if you're trying to practice English or get better at English, I think if we have a better idea of how to really use AI, we can get a lot more better in English that way. What you're doing though is it just depends because it depends on at what part of your journey do you want to go for English, right? Most people it's just that they want to just be able to speak and or understand people. Some people want to take it further. It's like, oh, they want to go to academia, be in a university, be around those people. So supposedly you might need, or not supposedly, you may need more advanced vocabulary in order to be able to at least catch up with how those people speak, right? Let's say like you might want to be more specific as like a British or English lit major, right? Then at that point, you're going to go beyond into what is like literary devices and analysis of literature, right? So it's not just the words and understanding it, but then like what deeper meaning is being expressed. Like you're going to be reading between the lines at that point. Although like this is something that's not specific to English, right? If you look at other languages have their own literature. So similes are still the same, right? So like in English, a simile would be like something that has like or as. Like he's tall like a giraffe, for example, right? If you did that in Spanish, it's not like or as, it's como, because that's your like or as, right? If you do that in like a different language, it's whatever that means like or as, but then that's still the same thing. It's still a simile, just in a different language, right? If you were to break down other types of literary devices in other languages, there's lots of similarities, except for idioms, because idioms tend to be more culture-based. Like you wouldn't say it's raining cats and dogs in other languages. Hay lluvia como un perro y gato. Like that's messed up sounding, doesn't it? Right? Like for our Spanish speakers, because like that doesn't make sense. You would say it differently. I don't know how you would say it in Spanish, but it would be a lot more different, right? So, you know, idioms would be one of those things that's a little bit more cultural based. So you'd have to say express that differently. But that's where you can really have a quote unquote mastery of a language. It's when you can understand things not literally in that language. That's how you can be sarcastic in that language or tell jokes in that language. Because otherwise, you're kind of at a basic level where you're just learning things literally. Which there's no problem with that, right? Like sometimes you don't really need to go beyond. You just need to just get the basics and that's it. But if you're interested in going beyond that, that's where, you know, what is sarcasm in that language? What is comedy in that language? Right? That's where things get interesting.
All right, thank you very much. But I'm so sorry I have to go now.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
yeah, I'm having so much fun and I have learned a lot today.
Are you so for Indonesia, are you like are you on the Jakarta part of Indonesia or like are you like an hour ahead of that?
Yeah, I have to. If I want to go to Jakarta, I have to take an hour, 45 minutes to go to Jakarta by plane.
I mean like time zone wise, like are you
Oh,
same time zone as Jakarta or like the
yeah,
an hour
yeah,
before?
yeah, same time zone with Jakarta.
Okay,
It's not
cool,
too far, just 45 minutes by plane.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So basically that's the same time zone as Thailand and Vietnam. So basically like when my meeting starts, it's 9 a.m. over there, even though it's like 10 p.m. over here. Okay, got it.
yeah. All right, thank you very much. I'll
Yeah,
be waiting for next meeting then.
take care. And it looks like it's lunchtime, so enjoy your lunch.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye, Daniel. Bye,
Bye.
Leon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Take care, everybody.
Okay, so let's see. Other than that, we're basically winding things down, right? So like if there's nothing else, I'll probably just end the call. At this point, the call has been running for 3 hours, so it's already pretty lengthy. The longest I've had my call was like 4 hours because there's just people who just kept asking questions left and right. I literally had to break that video down to like I think 3 different videos or something like that. But yeah, anybody have any particular comments, questions, or thoughts?
Please, I wanted to ask something.
Okay.
And about the meeting, so here in Istanbul, it's 8 a.m. I don't know if which day will be the meeting again.
Let's see. No, that we're not doing that. It's click here. World time, buddy. And stretch it over to here. And then where's my Zoom? Boop. Shares. Hopefully share screen this. Yeah. Boop. Click on this. Wow, my computer is really slow. Let's stop that. Okay, that's better. Okay, Istanbul. So, usually my meetings is actually let's move this aside here. My meetings are usually around 10 p.m. New York time. So that would be like 5 a.m. Istanbul. That's really early in the morning for you. But because the meeting kept on stretching longer, like yeah, it's still like sometime morning.
Yeah.
But that's just specifically my meetings, right? Um,
Thank you. I
Uh,
will do my best to be online just to improve real my English.
Sure. My meeting isn't the only meeting. So right behind, or they go, right behind me, these are all the other hosts, and these are their meeting times. Um, it's difficult to see it this way. So if hopefully the shared screen is still going. What I did, so I particularly advertised to Vietnamese people because I'm in a bunch of Vietnamese groups. I've been trying to get a lot of Vietnamese people to join the International English Cafe because having them be exposed to other foreigners, I think is a helpful way. And so far, some of them that have joined more consistently found themselves improving a lot because uh,
Mm.
by practicing with other people that are not Vietnamese, everybody have different accents, everybody have a different background, different culture. So there's lots to learn, and it's really puts their English to the test because now instead of getting used to the improper way of speaking sometimes, right? Like you can actually hear other people speak, and a lot of it is actually more
Trước
proper.
thật địa ngục
So,
quen.
yes,
Trước thật
Mary?
nghe.
Yes, Mary? Okay, so in terms of either the use of grammar, because Vietnamese people tend to do like uh present participle uh in times when like you're not supposed to use participle. That's one of their things. Um, pronunciation wise, it's like the pronunciation of certain letters because in Vietnamese there's not really a P, it's a PH, right? But that's not really a P. So there's no real P sounds. So lots of times it's like they substitute that with a little with a B sound for anything that may be a P, right? So it's perfect, not perfect, but perfect, right? Like for example. So there's certain things that's interesting, but when they hear other people speak, whether you're a native speaker or just an English learner that's not Vietnamese, having to them be for them to be exposed actually helps. Anyhow, on the screen, I have basically it's a Google spreadsheet where I have all the hosts. It's a little bit more organized. So this is their time, and I have like New York time and Vietnam time. Vietnam time is the same as Jakarta time, which is why I asked IU earlier. But basically, if you follow along, that like it helps. But anybody that's outside of this time, or either of those time zones, I don't know what those times are. Obviously, I can't make this big old spreadsheet, but at least if you use their time and combined it with the time converter, then you at least get an idea of when that time for the other meetings are. Um, column F has the link to their meetings. So although we all post the meeting link in our meeting notification, but through the spreadsheet itself, you could literally just pick the link and then just go into it. So I feel like this is an easier way or more organized way. If you scroll a little bit to the left, some meetings have passcodes, so those are also noted as well.
Yeah,
I'll actually copy paste this just in case. If this is something that you might find helpful, then
I
hopefully
think
uh oops. Oh, Mohammed, sorry about that. Okay, so hopefully this is something that you can find helpful for you too. Actually, I need to get rid of. He's a former host. He's not hosting anymore. He's doing something else. hide. Okay. So, yeah, I think I might need to hide some more stuff because some of the hosts are away. But nonetheless, this is a spreadsheet that I've been putting out there for other people. If you scroll down a little bit too, so you do see the infographics, although the infograph have since updated. So I need to put a different infograph down here. Um, there's the Facebook, there's the link to the Facebook, the link to the WhatsApp, there's the Instagram and the YouTube as well. So links to everything. It's a one-stop shop with all the information of how to get to these calls or to the particular group chats and or groups.
Yeah.
But yeah, good question because sometimes like it might be not easy to know when to get onto the call and things like that. And I feel sometimes like the host might not be aware that they're not providing information in a way that it's helpful for the members to know when the call is. So for me particularly, I at least put the spreadsheet together. I want to advertise for not just me, but for all the other hosts, just because like now sometimes like a particular time and day might be more suitable for certain people. So it would be ideal that they would know when those time and time of day and or day and time are. There you go. Other than that, aside from the International English Cafe, I do have a friend that's in international community speaking English. I think that's another good group. I've heard of other English groups out there, but I'm not really associated with any other groups except for International English Cafe. But for me, my perspective is whatever group that you're in, um, you know, that's the more important part because having people to be able to practice with is always going to be helpful. And if you're in multiple groups, then there's multiple benefits.
So I have a questions.
Ask away.
Okay, so since you told that you have a multiple, if we attach with the multiple groups, then we will get the benefited from different group. So do you have any group of your own so that we can join if you share with the link there?
I don't really have a
Sorry.
group of my own. Yeah. For me particularly, I help out Vietnamese people. So there's an app called Zalo, which is the Vietnamese chatting app. So I meet people there. There are certain groups that are English groups. So that's where I can help people. But outside of that, they mostly speak in Vietnamese. And I'm using that as a way to be able to practice Vietnamese, mainly because I'm not born there. I'm actually born in the States. And then also I never been to Vietnam. So the only way for me to connect with my Vietnamese roots is through the app and then be able to try to meet people, talk, and try to learn Vietnamese. So it's not really like a group, but they do have groups where like where it's specifically for them to practice English. So I'm in some of those groups and I help them out. And what I do is I just advertise in those groups that spreadsheet that I showed you so that they have kind of like at least acknowledgement that there's other non-Vietnamese groups that they can use to practice English.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Yeah, because for me, one person from Zalo joined, like, was in International English Cafe, and she sent out the link. I jumped in, and that's how I got here. somebody from the group asked me to help host. They're like, "Hey, are you interested?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think about it, but let me think," right? And then after about a week or two, then I was like, "Okay, I'll join." And then I've been doing this for about a year. My thing isn't really like I'm a teacher or anything. It's just because I'm the quote unquote native. So my style of things too is I'm not trying to do things to help teach. It's just hear something and start practicing to speak. If it's something that you like in terms of its format, great. If it's not your quote unquote cup of tea, that's okay. There's other hosts, and that's why I like to advertise all of them. I think out of everybody, James is the one that has the most people in his calls. Otherwise, I think Sunit's call tend to be another popular one. And then Hadaya's too, if you're able to get in the midday or the midweek. Okay, yeah, no worries. It is kind of getting kind of late too, so like aside from that, like I think we went through enough comments, questions, and thoughts too. The meeting has stretched for quite a long time, so like at this point, I think I can call meeting adjourned. But overall, yeah, thanks for jumping into the call. My sessions always will be like one half main topic, the other half comments, questions, and thoughts. Some of the questions you came up with are kind of nice. If there were anything that you wanted to talk about, but maybe later, then feel free to bring it up later. But otherwise, thanks for joining the call, and I bid everyone a good day. So take care. Bye.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
bye.
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 Oops, wrong mouse.
Thank you very much.
Go. And then click. Bye.
Words collide like fiddles hum, every accent's welcome some. Round the table, dreams are shared, across the world and love is aired. At the International English Cafe, talk your troubles right away, sip your tea, let stories play. At the International English Cafe, we don't need no passport stamp, just a cozy quarter lamp. Face to face we find the way, in a little cafe day after day. Maps and charts might trace the globe, but here we spin our own wardrobe. Patchwork lives with thread we weave, stories told when you believe. At the International English Cafe, words align like fiddles hum. At the International English Cafe, words collide like fiddles hum, every accent's welcome some. Round a table, dreams are shared, across the world and love is aired. Our love is aired, across the world and love is aired. Across the world and love is aired. English Cafe, we don't need no passport stamp, just a cozy quarter lamp. Face to face we find the way, in a little cafe day after day. Maps and charts might trace the globe, but here we spin our own wardrobe. Here's your face, we find the way, in a little cafe day after day after day. Maps and charts might trace the globe, but here we spin our own wardrobe. But here we spin our own wardrobe. But here we spin our own wardrobe. Patchwork little cafe day. Hey, accent charts might trace the globe. We don't need no passport stamp, just a cozy corner lamp. Face to face we find the way, in a little cafe day after day. Maps and charts might trace the globe, but here we spin our own wardrobe. Here we spin our own wardrobe. Patchwork lives with thread we weave. Stories told with